What's going on, guys? And welcome to episode 30. I'm your host, Marcus. And in this episode, we are talking about anchoring your day. Now, this is a special episode, right? We hit episode 30, which is something going into this, right? I can't even believe it's actually been 30 episodes already, but I wanted to find something different, right? I didn't want to keep bringing something to the table that I discuss typically. So I was kind of diving deep into what exactly would help everybody, where I could bring the most value. And, I had a conversation today and something that I thought was really important. And it's really about anchoring your day, right? And thinking about, what are your plans, right? I've talked about setting your destination and knowing what your daily tasks are, all those other different things. But ultimately, and I've even talked about habits and how important those are and routines and all that stuff, but ultimately understanding that what you're trying to do here is anchor your day. Because a lot of times you find that if you're waking up late, right, or if you just kind of, it's like falling into the day, right? You end up waking up, perhaps you're late for work, and you realize that you're chasing your day from that point forward. And the day just seems so draining before it even gets started. And so what I mean by anchoring your day is having that kind of like routine, that the morning routine that is going to set you up right for that day, right? Like you've done all the pre-prep, right? You've planned out your day, you know what's going on. And from that point forward, you have that single task that you want to get done each and every single day. And that is your priority. And in doing so, you need to start out your day off right. That means giving yourself time in the morning. Now, you may not be a morning person, and I know you've heard about having like morning rituals and how important that is. There's a reason for that. And this is something I've always known, right? This has kind of like been my Zen mode. And I started writing my book, right? I've talked about this. I was talking about this today too. I've written like two other books, right? One particularly being like essentially like letters to my father, talking about the things that I've changed in life and everything since he's passed. And I've written another book. Now, these aren't published. These are just books I have written. They're sitting on my hard drive, right? And I've written another one that was more like bullet point form, very structured, just talking about how your mind works and how you can improve yourself. But being said, I started writing one that was kind of a combination of both, more so, which I find extremely intriguing, essentially about my story leading into meeting my father, right? And that whole how it planned out and my growth through that transition and stuff like that. And when you think about stuff like this, you have to set your day off right. And when I talk about like my Zen mode in the morning, and why I never thought I was a morning person, to be honest, and the more I started doing it, the more I became a morning person, because I realized the impact it had on my day. And when I talk about anchoring your day, if you could anchor your day in the morning and set it off, right, you have to set the tone. It's like anything else. You have to set the tone. If you don't set the tone in the beginning of your day, you realize that, again, you're trying to play catch up, and then the day just gets lost and you can't accomplish what you want to get accomplished. And so the more days you have like that, you realize you wake up one day, well, where am I? I don't even understand where I am anymore. I don't recognize who I am anymore. I don't recognize that person in the mirror. But understanding that, and understanding that if you can anchor your day, things are so much better. You're so much more productive. You so much got more control of your day. And in the morning, what I always typically do when I wake up is I try not to check my phone, right? But you have to understand too, is I'm also very much involved in the stock market. So I look at a lot of different stuff in the stock market when I wake up. I try my best to remove that, right? That's the one thing I do try to remove. I glance at it, I put it away, and that's essentially what I do. And then what I do in the morning is I have a good structured, solid like 40 minutes in the morning to myself. And what I like to do is sit in quiet and silence ultimately, right? Now, I do meditation as well throughout the day, later on in the morning. But understand that during this time, this quiet time of my day, right, it's good to kind of visualize the day. Like, what is my objective today? What am I looking to accomplish? What do I have scheduled? What am I looking for, right? Kind of prepping my day, and just sitting in silence kind of puts me in that Zen state and allows me to focus. And again, I've talked about how silence is extremely impactful, right? You wouldn't think so, but when's the last time you actually sat in silence? And I've even I can reflect on times of my life sitting in silence just seemed like, why would I want to do that? And sometimes I do guided meditation that are like 10 to 15 minutes, and realize that this helps me refocus, right? It helps me determine what my day is going to be and not letting it run away, right? I give myself that cushion to focus, right? To wake up. Okay, I'm not in a rush here. I'm trying to understand the day, right? I try to reflect on what I'm essentially projecting for that day. Okay, well, I may have this appointment scheduled. I have the gym. I have my run. All right, I have the stock market. I have these things that have to get accomplished. I may have to do a video, may have to do a podcast, right? There's other things that I try to pre-plan in my head. And I am one of those people that I don't like to write every single thing down. And I know that can be really, it's like an extra task to some people. And for me, that's what it is. It's an extra task. So if I can sit in that silence and plan out my day, right? Like I have things that are going on. If I'm aware there's something coming up, I'll look at my phone. Okay, well, I have this. I need to look at this, right? But going away from that, trying to anchor your day, it's important to have that time. And I really reflect on where I am in my life at that point, not in the past, not in the future, but where am I right now? What am I doing right now that needs to be done? And a lot of times I've used this time to kind of like, okay, well, I've been slacking here a little bit. Maybe I feel like my motivation really isn't there. Maybe I'm procrastinating on some things, right? And see, this is the biggest thing too, is a lot of times, especially like I find, or you may find, right, that you're talking about your day or whatever, particularly when I've been talking about my day, people will say, well, that's like a really productive day. And for me, it's like, it's not really productive for me, right? Like I always find the flaws in what I'm doing, right? Like I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, right? Like I may be across multiple platforms. I may be doing multiple things at one time, but it's like, okay, well, that isn't going to help me essentially get to where I want to be, right? Like I need to focus on one thing. And so that's why a lot of times, even like doing videos for my YouTube channel and everything like that, I've kind of cut back because I want to focus on specific things like that book. I want to focus on specific things like the stock market, right? Like that in itself takes a lot of time and resources. And so if I want that thing to work, and again, I got to eliminate all the other distractions, right? And even two at one time is a lot, right? You should really only have one. And for the longest time, I only had one. And I tried to limit it, and I kept getting that essentially the grass is always greener on the other side, and so, or that shiny bell, right? And it would draw my attention away, and I want to go do this, and I want to go do that, and it's hard to focus. And so I try to keep everything to essentially those two things, right? Is to make sure that I'm executing on those two things, and as always, right? Like I always preach about. You need to focus that yourself first. And so first thing after I have that quiet time, right, I go to the gym and I work out for myself, right? I do that for myself. I do it for the way I feel, because I've noticed since doing a lot of internal work, it really is based off of how I feel. And I've done it so much so, right, being plant-based and everything else, that if there's any minute change from the norm, I can feel the dramatic difference in my body and then in my mind. If I perhaps start slacking on my meditation, I notice the difference. It may not be right away, but I start noticing, well, maybe I'm a little more agitated than normal, right? Because meditation does make you more calm. It does make you more aware. And even just sitting in silence has helped me with that. So I have a bunch of different mindful practices that I do in a day, with sitting in silence first thing in the morning, and then I do that extra 15 minutes. Essentially, the 15-minute guided meditation is more like projecting what I want to happen, being in that moment. And something I talk about all the time, being what you want to become, right? Who's with you in that moment? Where are you? How are you feeling, right? What exactly are you doing, right? Everything in that moment, just essentially defining every detail in that moment and living that moment repeatedly until you achieve it, right? This is that thing they call law of attraction, which some people don't believe. I believe it does work, right? Because it helps you focus. Yes, you do still have to take action. You can't just manifest it out of thin air, right? I do believe there are some other things behind everything that help align those things with you, but you have to take the actions to make it happen. You can't just be wishful on these things and hoping that they happen. You still have to take action, and not just small action. Yes, maybe small action at first, but you do have to take bigger steps. You do have to put yourself out there so the world can see you. You do have to do these other things, right? I'm not saying you have to jump on camera. What I'm saying is that if you want to make an impact in your life, right, you have to interact with the world a lot more than you currently are, right? You can't just sit in your shell and expect the world to change, right? The world isn't going to change around you till you try to impact the world in some way, shape, or form by taking some kind of action, right? Like, stuff isn't going to move by your thoughts alone. You have to essentially touch it, right? If we are trying to move some solid object in front of us, we could think about moving that object and how we would do it and everything else, but it's not going to move till we physically touch that object. That's what you have to do to make these changes in your life. You don't have to physically touch it, but you have to physically take some sort of action to align with what you're thinking. And so the meditation I do aligns with that. So I have the anchoring, those two anchor points in my morning that help me, again, put me in the present state, because in the present state is where I know I'm going to be mindful of the changes I'm trying to make and start making them, right? And being said, again, I have that forward projection with my 15 or 10, 15-minute meditation sessions that allow me to project where I want to, what I am, right? That's what's important too about the meditation is projecting what I am, what I already am. I'm not chasing anything, right? We're trying to not chase anything, because that makes the day a lot harder. You have to believe. And it's also, you can also go with talking about affirmations, right? About I am, right? It's extremely powerful. You don't understand the words, the lingo that you tell yourself is extremely impactful. And I've talked about this a couple different times, and I've even done a video lesson on this on my YouTube channel, because it is important on how you're talking to yourselves, especially if you're in an environment in which people are perhaps talking negative towards you, right? You have to combat that. So it makes it even extra hard. And this is why I talk about you need to eliminate those things in your environment that are doing this, right? Because if you have things in an environment that are negative, right, you're going to start believing that. So you have to do double the effort to be able to overcome that. And again, it's going to be extremely hard, more so that it's easier to give up than to continue on. And so this is why I talk about eliminating a lot of things in your environment, so you can make that essential environment a more fostering environment, and wonder why and how, right? How I can be so productive, how I can do all these things. And the biggest thing is not just anchoring by letting go of everything, right? Letting go of everything that doesn't align with what you want to do in life, right? If you are not happy, that is solely on you. It doesn't matter where you come from, right? It is solely on you. I've come from, a point to where we lived on food stamps, right? I've come from a point in my life to where I had everything that I desired, right? I've come from different points in my life. I've lived on both sides of the spectrum. And so I'm telling you that this being so impactful, right? You really want to make a difference in your life. You don't tolerate things. You have borders for a reason, and you don't tolerate them, right? If people don't want to be in your life, let them walk away, right? Show them what they are missing, professional or personal, or you shouldn't tolerate it. If you want to be part of my life, you will go ahead and do that. right? It's not saying that you shouldn't put forth effort. Yes, I put forth effort. I show effort, but if that person doesn't want to be a part of it, that is fine. That is their choice. But I'm not going to be that person that's going to wait, right? You can't be that person. Actions speak louder than words. And a lot of times, and this is what I just talked about, right? And how action does that. But being said, you need to form the anchor in your day. You need to find the anchor in your day and find some kind of meditative state in the morning, mindfulness in the morning, routine in the morning that is 10, 15 minutes, even 30 minutes. If you can do 30 minutes would be even better. I always talk about the longer the better, right? And again, silence, it is so calming, right? Initially, you won't think that. Initially, I never thought that. Silence is extremely calming. It allows you to focus, to put those things that matter in focus. And then again, you're not chasing. So you're more that energy level I talk about all the time when you're going throughout your day, right? You can manage it better because you're not allowing, right? We want to try to eliminate as much choice as possible. And so by doing that, right, we kind of grease the skids by setting that anchor in the morning in our mind that, hey, I'm good. This is what is going on, right? It's not saying that something can happen in your life and you're just going to not get angry and not all do is things, but it allows you to come at a better focused approach to your life by being anchored, right? And having that anchor. And I've even talked, I think I've talked about this, but about there's a bunch of different NLP techniques that help this as well, right? Is having an anchor. So not only do you have an anchor in the morning, kind of like that morning routine that allows you to get your thoughts together. Now, even being said, right, there's life happens, right? But you should still, if you need to wake up earlier, whatever the case is, you need to make that a priority, is anchoring your day and then being able to build off that. It allows you to build your day better off of that. It allows you to be more productive because of that. It gives you more energy because of that, because you have anchored yourself going into the day. And then when you are looking at these, you're going throughout your day, yes, life does happen. Wake up earlier if you need to. If you already see something that is going to happen, again, you can't always predict that, but maybe you have to do something, get it done. Try to get back to it. Try to have some anchor point, like I'm talking about with the NLP technique. Is essentially what I've always learned is to put your thumb and your middle finger together and think about a point in your life you were actually happy. Right, that moment. How did that moment feel? Going back to that moment and giving details in that moment and how you felt like it was the best time of your life, right? Relive that moment when you're putting your fingers together, then like rubbing your fingers together in like small circular motion allows you to anchor yourself. So whenever a tough moment comes during life or during the day, those unseen, foreseen days, and you didn't get to your routine in, you rub your finger together and it pulls your mind back to that particular memory, right? Because it's not gonna, this is something I think a lot of people get the misconception of, like, things just automatically like 110%, I'm just ready to rock and roll and I'm happy right at the moment. No, that's not what it does, but it calms the mind, right? We need to learn how to control the mind, right? Because the mind just goes. And I've done so much research on the mind, and you're constantly battling the mind. And that's why I talk about why it's so important about your outside elements and how much you need to make sure they align with everything, because you're already dealing with yourself. You're dealing with your own mind, right? Like, you have that roommate in your head that is playing against every move that you make in your life, right? You want to live healthier, right? That voice in your head's like, why not have the ice cream? Why not have the popcorn? Why not have the candy, right? We can just worry about that diet tomorrow. Or, we can do everything tomorrow, or whatever it is, right? Like, well, maybe I want to start writing that book and start procrastinating about that book, right? Because that roommate's like, oh, I could just do it tomorrow. why do it today? You've had a long day. You're tired, right? You've done all these things. Just take it easy and go ahead and continue on, right? Just do whatever you're going to do. You need some kind of mindless thing, right? Like sitting in front of a TV or something. This is what you need. That's what that voice will tell you. And so you're constantly combating that roommate that likes to procrastinate, that likes to push it off for another day, that likes to not allow you to get to where you want to go. And the more you allow that voice to overtake your essentially your awareness, which is yourself, right? And define that goes in a whole other topic about who you are, and are you the awareness of what's actually going on in your life? And being said, I think anchoring at that point, we're going back to the anchoring bit, and realizing that you're trying to calm the mind, so you can realize the difference between, okay, well, I'm not this roommate in my head and all these other things. This is where I can kind of mute that voice to allow myself to make the choice that I want to make here. And that is what it's for, is to ground yourself to be able to make the right choice, especially because you start getting tired, right? You want to have tools that allow you to take a better grasp of the particular situation. And this NLP technique helps with that, right? If you can't ground yourself, right, you may be stressing out. Breathing on all this stuff does help. There's other ways to do this, to put you back in the moment so that you can gather your thoughts as quick as possible, right? It's not saying that you're going to have, 110% by just doing a breathing technique or doing this. It dramatically allows you to make that shift. Not, again, 100%, but I would probably say it's a good 60, 70%, right? It takes more than just the edge off to allow you to kind of refocus on things and trying to make the right decision in that moment. And so anchoring your day is important, right? If you really need to have, again, morning routines, they matter, right? Having that morning meditation, some kind of morning mindfulness is extremely important, right? And you can do more mindfulness throughout the day, right? The more you do it, right? Because a lot of times I say you should do like 30 minutes an hour is important. If you can do longer than that, it's even better. But also may understand there's a lot of people that don't want to dedicate that kind of time. Even myself in the beginning, and I go through phases where I don't want to do it as at a grander scale, like an hour to 2 hours, but I do it in chunks, right? If you can chunk it in different times, have in the morning, have another part throughout the day, or perhaps just to have it in the evening. And you can play with this, which is nice too, because even at the end of the day, you can do a lot of reflecting at the end of your day when you're doing these mindful states, and being grateful for the things that have happened to you in your life, whether they are good or bad, right? It's not just eliminating or highlighting the good things, but highlighting the bad things and what you've actually learned from that thing, right? And I think we learn more from the bad things than we do from the good things, right? Because we associate so much with, well, it wasn't good, so it's bad, and so let's just focus on more good stuff. No, let's focus on the bad more than the good, right? Like, what did I learn? And then relive that particular event, right? And then try to think of a better option, right? Like if you find that you go to the cupboards at 4 o'clock because you got the munchies and you're trying to eat on a better diet, right? Try to repicture and live in that moment at that time, and then think about an alternative. Well, what else could I do? Well, if I start getting hungry and munchy, maybe I should just go for a walk, or maybe I should start doing something else, right? Like chewing a piece of gum, or maybe I should do something else, right? Try to find a more positive alternative to that, and then use that and project that at the end of your day. So the next day, when you have your morning set up and you're thinking about these things, you can kind of relive that and redo this, right? Because the more, again, the mind doesn't know the difference. So if you can project these things, visualize these things before they happen, right, you're more mindful of it, so that you're trying to automate a lot of these processes and thought processes to make you choose a better route, as opposed to doing the usual that is getting you to where you are, that you are not happy, right? And I'm not saying your routine and stuff, that you don't live a happy life, that your life isn't a great life or anything like that, but we're trying to improve ourselves, and to be able to do that, right, we're not fixing anything here. Again, we're just trying to get better of who we already are. And if we can have the tools to combat these things, and allow ourselves to become a better version of ourselves is what we want to do. Not fix anything, because nothing is broken, but to focus on what needs to be done. And to be able to do that, to be able to take on your day, it's important to be able to anchor yourself, knowing how to do that, having a morning routine that will allow you to do that, to project your day, right? You can even go into just projecting your day and visualizing exactly what's going to happen, right? Like if you have that schedule already in your mind, what's supposed to happen, right? Maybe I drop the kids off in the morning, and then from that point on, maybe I go to work, right? And I go throughout the day. I have a particular meeting at this time. Just kind of play your day through your head and make sure that everything that is going through your head is a positive outcome, right? And then even if it goes astray, whatever, throughout the day, that's fine, right? You're not going to, of course, you're not going to be able to project the future, but it helps. It gives you that visual that you're going to execute. It gives you that morning confidence, that morning boost that anchors you throughout your day. So when the bad things do come up, you aren't like it's completely thrown off because you're chasing your days. You're more like, well, I don't want to deal with this, and I'll make a wrong decision here, a wrong decision there, because I'm just exhausted from just trying to catch up with everything, where I'm already prepared, I'm ready for the day. And just having that peace of mind going into the day helps tremendously, because it is all a mind game. You are, again, playing against yourself. And everything I do talk about on my videos, on my podcast, is about having that control over your mind and realizing that you are more than capable of doing anything that you want to do, right? And it's the fear in the mind that holds us back, the fear of an outcome that doesn't even exist, that holds you back from doing a lot. It's the fear of judgment. It's the fear of acceptance. Right? You need to be able to accept yourself before anybody else. Because if you can't accept who you are and not be happy and start making changes to where you will accept yourself, that's where you want to be. When you start accepting yourself and then like the person that you are, because you won't tolerate things, and you've built an ecosystem around you that allows you to do that, to give you the strength to tell other people, no, this is my border. I am not doing this. I'm not chasing you. You want to be in my life, you be in my life. If you want to, if I want to do this, right? Maybe I want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe I want to take on this job or try a different job and not do this other job. I may have done this particular job for many years. And I want to shift gears and be okay with that. Because you're committed to yourself and finding your happiness, because that is what life is really about. And to be able to do any and all of that, you have to be able to anchor your day. You have to be able to figure out, where is my mindset? Because a lot of times, again, we may be thinking about the previous day. We may be thinking about a relationship in our life. We may be thinking about the job in our life that may be absorbing too much negative energy, right? Or you dwell on what is going to happen, or you're not happy with the current situation. And so that runs your day. And to be able to do that, to be able to set your day, you focus back on yourself and align everything again with yourself, making sure that the steps that you are taking are the steps that you actually want to happen. And if they're not, correct them, however that may be. Right? Get rid of relationships, get rid of that job, get rid of whatever it is, get rid of that big house. Maybe you're too stressed out about the big house, or get rid of that car, or get rid of whatever is going on in your life. Get rid of those things, eliminate those things, to where you find that you're more confident with yourself. You are more accepting of yourself. You have to be accepting of yourself. And if you're not, you need to make a change. You need to make a change by setting, again, priority, yourself first. Anchor yourself in the beginning of the day and throughout the day if need be. But your priority is yourself. You, again, are the foundation on which it all stands. So it should be a priority that you will not only be healthy physically, but healthy mentally, and ready to take it on by solidifying that day in the beginning. because you are what matters. There is a lot of people relying on you more than you even know. So set that mindset up for success.